What's up, wildlings? Colin here, the Wild CEO, back for another video on the Ancestral Mind. Today's video is about keto and paleo. What is keto diet? What is paleo diet? How to combine them for some sick results, whether that's weight loss or performance, how to throttle and then even understand the differences between keto and paleo and how to apply them in your life to get the results you want. Also, we'll cover some of the misconceptions because there's a lot of misconceptions, and each of those really need their own video, whether it's a paleo misconception or a keto misconception. So let's keep today's video to the point. Keto plus paleo, how do you do it? Why would you want to do it? And how to think about it. All right, first things first, let's define the keto diet, and then we'll define the paleo diet, and then we'll see how they're different so that you can really understand what people are talking about when they talk about them, and then we can look into some recommendations of how to apply it in your life. So keto is about low carb. The idea is to control glucose levels and insulin levels as low as possible. About 20 grams a day is what is recommended on a low carb, high fat, moderate protein keto diet. By keeping your carbs low and keeping your insulin low, you're trying to stimulate what's known as ketosis. You're trying to get into a fat burning state, which is what happens when your body runs out of glucose. Your body goes into a process known as ketosis. Your liver then creates energy from fat on your body. This is what people talk about when they're saying fat burning. Those are called ketone bodies, which then go in to fuel your body and your brain and everything. And your brain loves ketones, your body loves ketones. For most of us, if you're a carb burner, meaning you're eating a lot of carbs, moving into a ketosis state on a regular basis is going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take some time for your metabolism to adapt. But that's the basic theory around the ketogenic diet. And the reason the ketogenic diet gets results for people is because this managing of blood sugar levels and this eliciting of fat burning. The thing about keto is it is primarily about the quantity of your macronutrients: protein, fat, and carbs. While some ketogenic diet proponents will talk about real food and eating clean ingredients, whatever, that's kind of secondary to what most people think about and what most people are talking about when they're referring to a ketogenic diet. Carbs, protein, and fat, ideally carbs being under 20 grams, moderate protein, and then high fat. That is generally what people are talking about and what most keto proponents recommend. Now, that is the primary mechanism of keto, and that is the primary way that people are talking about keto and recommending keto. So what about paleo? Well, the reason keto and paleo can fit together like nice pieces of a puzzle are keto is about the quantity of food. It's about the macronutrients: carbs, protein, and fat. Keep that in your mind, burn that into your head. Like I said, there are exceptions to this. Some people do recommend keto that in real food, but generally the keto movement is very much about your macros. Paleo, on the other hand, makes no claims whatsoever as to the amount of macros. And this is one of the big misconceptions of the paleo diet. Everybody thinks it's either high fat or high protein or low carb or moderate carb or a lot of fruit. There's a lot of misconceptions around it, but the reality is the paleo diet isn't making claims of macros. It is about food quality. Paleo diet is referring to food quality. It's about food and where it comes from and if it is ancestrally appropriate, meaning would our ancestors have eaten it before the advent of agriculture? And if we wouldn't have eaten it, for example, a Pop-Tart wasn't around 10,000 plus years ago. Therefore, we probably shouldn't eat it. And then it gets more into specific recommendations like beans and lentils and grains and other massed monocrop produced food that weren't available to our ancestors before we started farming, eliminating those, and then looking into some reasons why we should eliminate those from health perspective, not just from the fact that like, oh, well, it's not paleo, we shouldn't eat it. There's a lot of research and a lot of science around how a lot of those foods can be toxic. There's plant lectins, there's phytates, there's all these other hosts of things that can affect people, like people with autoimmune issues, for example, can have debilitating pain and disease and sickness from the foods they're eating. Okay, a really good YouTube to watch on that is Dr. Terry Walls. Watch her TED Talk, it's crazy. Keto on this hand is going to be quantity of macronutrients. It's a quantity-based diet recommendation. Paleo, on the other hand, makes no claims to quantity and is about quality. Now imagine if you take something like keto, which stabilizes blood sugar, brings insulin down, and moves you into a fat-burning state a lot of the time. You take that powerful metabolic-based counting of macronutrients and you combine it with something like paleo, which is taking foods that are most ancestrally appropriate, removing foods that are toxic, removing foods that attack our gut and do all these other things, removing foods that are highly palatable, etc., like processed food and like most of the food that we eat today. Imagine how powerful it is to combine these two. And that is why the keto plus paleo diet is just simply amazing. Now, this is one of my probably favorite combinations. I tend to do a low carb, high fat, high protein diet. I do a little bit more protein probably than what a lot of people recommend on a ketogenic diet. And there is a lot of protein kind of scare tactic or protein fear on a ketogenic diet, with the idea that like if you eat protein, you'll spike insulin, you'll get out of ketosis. Well, if you look at people that are in ketosis on a regular basis and you actually test their ketone levels, I know some people that are primarily carnivore based where they eat a lot of protein and obviously they're almost no carbs, so they're definitely keto. Well, they can eat a huge steak, double or quadruple the amount of recommended protein, and still be in ketosis. But again, today's video is not about that. That's just kind of a side point and how you can kind of put these two together. Something I will say about any diet, whether it's paleo, keto, Atkins, zone, whatever you do, you need to tweak it for yourself. My version of keto is just lower carb. And if I want rice sometimes, or if I want to do 50, 75, 100 grams carbs in a day, I'm going to do that. And whatever. A lot of people are doing more of a cyclical keto, which I actually think there's a lot of metabolic advantage to that, right? Like doing keto most of the time and then 1 day a week or 2 days a week, increasing your carb intake, give your body some metabolic flexibility, allow your body to mix it up a little bit. I find that anything that we do that is cyclical in nature, up and down, left and right, mixed up, sometimes a lot, sometimes a little bit, sometimes none, is most ancestrally appropriate. If you look back to how our ancestors live in the wild and how any modern day hunter-gatherer lives in the wild, we're gonna have periods of time. The seasons change, food availability changes. If you're living in a southern area and maybe you have fruit available year round or a lot of the time, well, if you're in the north, you're not gonna have that, right? And so Homo sapiens lived in all environments all over the world, right? And so there are gonna be subtle differences and variability of food and climate and things like this, and even your specific genes are going to do better or worse on certain foods, whether that's a little bit higher carb, a little bit lower carb, etc. It comes down to testing for yourself. That's one of the first principles of finding the optimal nutrition plan for you. And so combining keto with paleo is one of my favorite techniques. So with all of these things, you want to take the bulk of what the recommendation is. For example, keto is low carb. That's the primary thing, and high fat. So you take that framework, and then you maybe apply it to something else, like let's say paleo, or obviously intermittent fasting, which is the first principle. All humans should be doing that. And you really kind of test and tweak things, test different foods, test different times of the day, different schedules. There's really myriad opportunity to test things for yourself to find the best platform for you. And that is fun, but also difficult at the same time, right? It's part of the process. And people just want a one size fits all, tell me what to do, and that's gonna be a routine. And the reality is like, that's not ideal. Like unless you're really directly working with someone closely and tracking different things, keeping a food journal or working closely with a doctor or nutrition practitioner or whatever, it can be tough to do that, right? Maybe keep a journal yourself or use an app or a phone or whatever. Combining these things to find the best framework for you and then testing and tweaking the different levers, that's really the key. So to wrap up, keto is about the quantity of macronutrients, primarily a low carb, 20 grams or less a day is pretty much the standard. And then it's a high fat, moderate protein. Protein ranges could be between like 15 to 30%. It depends on who you ask, because everyone has a different opinion on that. I would probably say like 20% is probably a good range. Again, test it for yourself and what you like and what you prefer and what you do well on. And that's keto. And then we have paleo, quality of food. And for me, what I do is I like to call my version of paleo a real food-based, flexible version of paleo, which might include some grass-fed butter here and there. I might have some dairy products every so often, some cream or whatever. I'm not too dogmatic with it. And as with all diets, you really shouldn't be too dogmatic with it, because then you get into restrictive mindsets and you feel like you're missing out and whatever, and then you fall off the wagon. That's not what you want, okay? You want to be flexible, give yourself a break. Life's going to get in the way sometimes, but come back to that 80-20 or that 90-10, the bulk of what you're doing. And so I take that paleo, which is based on the cleanest animal products, the local organic produce, low carb generally, because paleo is anyways, yams and sweet potatoes. And then I do throw things in like white rice every so often, because white rice is a pretty clean carb source that doesn't really attack the gut. It's one of the most, it's probably one of the only grains that you could really eat and not have issues if you maybe even have borderline autoimmune or leaky gut or anything like that. If you have autoimmune, you probably don't want to eat any rice whatsoever. You don't want any grains whatsoever, but just something to keep in mind. Okay, so I know I'm going off a little bit on a tangent. These topics are huge. There's a million things to talk about. And I hope you found this video useful. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that subscribe and that bell button so that you can get more videos like this. I'm going to I'm going hardcore, guys. And I'm also, fun fact that I can share in this video, by the time this goes out, I will probably be moved into my new 10-acre farm out in Wimberley, which is about an hour outside of Texas. I'm really excited about that. I'm gonna document that journey. I'm doing a lot more videos on nutrition and health and real food and even cooking. I'm gonna get into cooking. We're gonna build a kitchen out there. We're gonna build a studio. It's gonna be awesome. It's just one of those days. It's one of those days. I'm hyped up. There's so much to do. There's so much work to do. There's so many people to help, and there's so little time. Take a breath. All right, so again, I'm Colin Stuckert, the Wild CEO. Thank you for watching this video. Do something with this information. I hope you maybe test a keto diet or maybe test a paleo diet, or find where bits and pieces of each of these diets might be able to come into convergence with your style of eating and really cut the grains, cut the sugar, cut the processed refined foods. Don't feed your kids, it's killing them. You're killing yourself. Life is short. The number one killers are heart disease and cancer. We need to change that. And that's what I'm here doing, my wild mission with the Ancestral Mind and with Wild Foods. And you can learn more over at wildfoods.co. Use code WILDCEO for 12% off your entire order if you decide to go over there. Thanks for watching. That's a wrap.